The ranch sat far away from the noise of towns and highways. It was surrounded by open land that stretched as far as the eye could see. Dry grass moved gently when the wind passed through it, and wooden fences stood quietly, marking boundaries that had not changed in years. Life on the ranch followed a steady rhythm. Each day began before sunrise and ended after the sky turned dark. The man who owned the ranch lived alone, and he preferred it that way. The rancher was known as a quiet man. He spoke only when necessary and trusted actions more than words. His mornings always started the same. He woke up early, washed his face with cold water, and stepped outside to breathe in the fresh air. The smell of soil and grass reminded him why he chose this life. He fed the animals, checked the fences, and fixed whatever needed repair. His hands were rough from years of work, but his movements were calm and careful. He had lived on this land for a long time. The ranch was not just a place to work. It was his whole world. There were memories tied to every corner of it. Though he rarely thought about the past, he believed that thinking too much only made life heavier. Work kept his mind clear, and silence gave him peace. He had no family living with him, no visitors most days, and that suited him just fine. That afternoon, the sun was high, and the heat pressed down on the land. The rancher was repairing a broken fence near the road that led to his property. It was rare for anyone to use that road, which made him look up when he heard footsteps approaching. At first, he thought it might be a traveler who had lost their way. But when he turned, he saw a woman standing a short distance away. She looked tired, as if she had been walking for a long time. Dust covered her shoes, and her clothes were simple and worn. She held a small bag tightly in her hands, as though it was the only thing she owned. Her posture showed hesitation, and she seemed unsure whether to step closer or turn back. The rancher stood still, studying her without saying a word. After a few moments, she spoke softly. Her voice was careful, almost afraid to break the silence. She asked if this was his land, and if he was the owner. The rancher nodded once. He noticed that her eyes moved around the ranch, taking everything in, but never staying in one place for too long. It was clear she was nervous. She explained that she was looking for work. Any kind of work. She did not give details about where she came from or why she was there. She only said that she needed a place to stay for a short time and was willing to work hard in return. As she spoke, her hands trembled slightly. Though she tried to hide it, the rancher listened without interrupting. He had met many people in his life, but something about this woman felt different. She did not seem lazy or dishonest. Instead, she seemed desperate, but not in a loud or dramatic way. It was the quiet kind of desperation that came from being tired of running. He asked her a simple question. He wanted to know if she could handle hard work. She nodded quickly and said yes. She promised she would not cause trouble and would leave when asked. Her words came out fast, as if she feared he might say no before she finished speaking. The rancher looked at the sky for a moment, then back at the land around him. He did not need extra help, but he also did not believe in turning away someone who clearly needed a chance. After a brief pause, he told her she could stay for a while. He said the work would be tough and the days long. She agreed without hesitation. Relief washed over her face, though she tried not to show too much emotion. She thanked him more than once, her voice filled with gratitude. The rancher simply nodded again and told her to follow him. He led her toward the main house, a small wooden building that had seen many seasons. As they walked, the rancher noticed how carefully she stepped, as if she was afraid to draw attention to herself. She kept a respectful distance behind him and did not ask questions. The only sound between them was the crunch of dirt under their feet and the distant calls of animals. When they reached the house, he showed her a small room near the back. It was simple but clean, with a bed, a chair, and a small window that looked out onto the fields. He told her she could rest for a bit and then start work later in the evening. She thanked him again, placing her bag carefully near the bed. Left alone, she sat down slowly, as if her body was finally allowing itself to relax. She stared at her hands for a long time, then looked around the room. It was not much, but to her, it felt safe. For the first time in a long while, she did not feel like she had to keep moving. Outside, The rancher returned to his work, but his thoughts were not as quiet as usual. He found himself wondering about the woman. He did not know her story, and he did not ask. Still, he sensed that she was carrying something heavy. He told himself it was none of his business, yet he could not completely push the feeling away. Later that evening, he showed her how to help with simple tasks: feeding the animals, carrying supplies, cleaning tools. She listened carefully and followed instructions without complaint. Despite her tired appearance, she worked with focus and determination. The rancher noticed that she never slowed down or tried to avoid any task, no matter how demanding. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft colors, the rancher felt a strange shift in the quiet of the place. The ranch was still silent, but it no longer felt empty. The presence of another person changed the air, even if neither of them spoke much. During dinner, they sat at opposite ends of the table. The meal was simple, but she ate as if it meant everything to her. She thanked him again for the food. He told her she had earned it. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and the rancher saw something in her expression, a mix of fear, strength, and hope. That night, as the ranch settled into darkness, both of them lay awake in separate rooms. The rancher stared at the ceiling, thinking about how a quiet life could change without warning. The woman lay on her bed, listening to the sounds of the land, feeling safe but unsure of what the future would bring. Neither of them knew it yet, but that day marked the beginning of something neither had planned. A simple act of kindness on a quiet ranch had opened the door to a story that would slowly unfold. One day at a time. Morning came early on the ranch. The sky was still pale when the rancher stepped outside, and the air felt cool against his skin. He expected to work alone, as always, but when he walked toward the barn, he saw the woman already awake. She was standing near the water pump, washing her face, moving quietly as if she did not want to disturb anything. For a moment, he watched from a distance, surprised by her discipline. He greeted her with a short nod and pointed toward the animals. Without hesitation, she followed him. He showed her how to carry feed, how to move slowly so the animals would not get nervous, and how to stay alert. She listened closely, repeating instructions in her mind. It was clear she wanted to do everything right. She did not complain, even when her arms grew tired, or the sun began to rise higher. As the hours passed, the rancher noticed her focus. She worked with care, not rushing, but not slowing down either. There was something steady about her movements. She treated every task with respect, no matter how small. This caught his attention. Many people who asked for work lost interest quickly. But she stayed committed. They spoke little that day. Most of their communication happened through gestures and short sentences. Still, a quiet understanding began to form. The rancher showed her where tools were kept and explained which areas of the land she should avoid. She thanked him and remembered everything he said. When the sun reached its highest point, they took a short break. They sat apart, drinking water in silence. The woman kept her eyes on the ground, lost in thought. The rancher noticed that she always kept her sleeves pulled down, even though the heat was strong. He also noticed she avoided certain movements, as if she was careful not to reveal something. He did not ask. He had learned long ago that people spoke when they were ready. Days passed, and the routine became familiar. Each morning, they worked side by side. She learned quickly and took on more responsibility. She cleaned the barn, helped with repairs, and assisted wherever needed. The rancher began to trust her without realizing it. He no longer felt the need to check her work. She earned that trust through consistency. Slowly, small conversations began to happen. They talked about the weather, the land, and the animals. She asked questions about the ranch, and he answered in simple words. He told her how long he had lived there and how the land had changed over the years. She listened with genuine interest, as if every detail mattered. One evening, as they finished their work, she thanked him again for giving her a chance. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed deep emotion. She said she had not felt this sense of peace in a long time. The rancher nodded, unsure of what to say. He was not used to talking about feelings, But he understood what she meant. Despite the growing comfort between them, the woman remained guarded. There were moments when her smile faded quickly, replaced by a distant look. Sometimes, loud sounds made her tense, and she would pause until the feeling passed. The rancher noticed these moments and respected them. He gave her space, believing patience was better than pressure. One afternoon, a strong wind swept across the land, knocking over a few loose tools. The sudden noise made her freeze. Her breathing changed, and she looked around as if expecting danger. The rancher spoke calmly, telling her everything was fine. He waited until she relaxed before continuing the work. That moment confirmed what he already suspected: she had been through something difficult. That night, they shared dinner as usual. The room was quiet, filled only with the sound of utensils. After a long pause, she spoke. She said she was sorry if she ever seemed distant or strange. She explained that trust did not come easily to her. The rancher looked at her and told her she did not owe him any explanations. That simple response seemed to ease her mind. As weeks passed, the ranch felt different. It was still quiet, but not lonely. The woman began to laugh occasionally, a soft sound that surprised even herself. She started to move more freely, her steps lighter than before. The rancher noticed these changes and felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Helping her had also changed him, though he would never admit it out loud. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat outside watching the sunset. The sky was painted with warm colors, and the land glowed softly. The woman spoke about her love for simple places like this. She said noise and crowds made her feel lost. The rancher understood. He felt the same way. There was a pause, heavy but not uncomfortable. Then she took a deep breath and said there was something she needed to explain someday. Her voice was steady, but her hands tightened in her lap. She did not explain further, only saying that when the time came, she hoped he would listen. He told her he would. That promise stayed between them. After that evening, the woman seemed more thoughtful. She worked as usual, but her eyes often drifted toward the open fields, as if she was preparing herself for something. The rancher did not push her. He trusted that she would speak when ready. One night, a storm rolled in unexpectedly. Thunder echoed across the land, and rain fell hard. The woman woke suddenly, shaken by the noise. She sat on her bed, breathing fast, trying to calm herself. After a while, she stepped outside for air and saw the rancher checking the fences despite the rain. He noticed her standing there and asked if she was okay. She nodded, though her face told a different story. He told her storms passed quickly and that the ranch was safe. His calm voice helped more than he realized. She stood there until the storm faded, then returned to her room, feeling steadier. The next morning, she thanked him for his reassurance. She said she did not sleep much, but she felt better knowing someone was nearby. The rancher nodded again, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He had lived alone for so long that he had forgotten what shared presence felt like. As time went on, the woman began to trust him more. She no longer flinched at every sound. She spoke more openly, though she still avoided details about her past. The rancher respected that boundary. He believed healing did not follow a schedule. One evening, after finishing work, she asked if they could talk later. Her tone was serious, but calm. He agreed. As night fell, both of them felt the weight of what was coming. The ranch was quiet, the stars bright above them. Whatever she planned to share, it was clear that the bond they had built would soon be tested. Neither of them knew exactly what the next conversation would bring, but they both understood one thing. Trust had been growing slowly, like roots beneath the soil, and soon, those roots would be exposed to the light. The night was calm, and the ranch rested under a sky full of quiet stars. The wind had settled, and only the soft sounds of the land could be heard. After dinner, the woman did not return to her room as she usually did. Instead, she remained seated at the table, her hands folded tightly in front of her. The rancher noticed but did not speak right away. He waited, sensing that she needed time. Finally, she lifted her eyes and asked if they could talk outside. Her voice was steady, but there was a careful tone beneath it. The rancher nodded and followed her to the porch. They sat on opposite ends of the wooden bench, leaving space between them. The air felt heavy, not uncomfortable, but serious. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. She stared out at the land, taking slow breaths, as if preparing herself. The rancher stayed quiet, giving her the respect of patience. He had learned that silence could be more helpful than words. She began by saying that she was grateful for the work, the shelter, and the way he never asked questions. She said that kindness without pressure was rare, and it had helped her more than he could imagine. As she spoke, her voice remained calm, but her hands trembled slightly. She told him that before coming to the ranch, her life had been very different, not in a good way. She said she had spent a long time feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. She had learned to protect herself by staying quiet and keeping distance from others. Trust, she explained, had once been broken deeply, and putting it back together took time. The rancher listened carefully. He did not interrupt or look away. He kept his eyes on the land, allowing her to speak freely without feeling watched. That small act made it easier for her to continue. She explained that there were things about her that people noticed quickly, things that led to judgment or questions she did not want to answer. She had learned to hide those parts of herself, not because she was ashamed, but because explaining them took strength she did not always have. She said that running away had become easier than staying and facing looks she did not understand. Her voice grew quieter as she spoke about the day she arrived at the ranch. She said she was exhausted, not just from walking, but from carrying her past everywhere she went. When he offered her work without demanding answers, it felt like the first moment of relief she had felt in a very long time. The rancher shifted slightly on the bench but remained silent. His face showed no judgment, only attention. He understood more than she realized. He knew what it meant to carry quiet burdens. She took a deep breath and said there was one thing she had avoided explaining. She said that someday it would become obvious, and she did not want him to feel confused or misled. She wanted him to hear the truth from her first. Her heart raced as she spoke. She told him that she had marks on her body that told a story she could not put into words easily. They were not something she chose, and they did not define who she was, but they reminded her every day of where she had been. People had stared before. Some had asked questions without care. Others had made quick decisions about her character without knowing her. She paused, fighting the urge to stop talking. Then she said quietly, "I don't want you to be surprised someday. I don't want you to think I was hiding something from you." The rancher finally turned to look at her. His expression was calm, steady, and open. He told her that everyone carried stories written in different ways. Some were seen, some were not. What mattered to him was how a person treated others, and how they treated themselves. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She said she appreciated his words, but there was more. She said that one day soon, she would need to show him what she meant. Not for pity, but for honesty. She needed to know if he would still see her the same way. The rancher did not answer immediately. He looked out across the fields, thinking carefully. Then, he spoke in a low, firm voice. He said he had offered her work because he saw effort, respect, and strength. Those things did not disappear because of a past experience. He told her that she did not owe him proof of anything. The woman nodded, but her shoulders remained tense. She said she understood, yet the need to be fully open still weighed on her. She said that carrying secrets, even small ones, made it hard to breathe freely. They sat in silence again, the kind that held meaning rather than emptiness. After a while, she stood up slowly. She said she was not ready to explain everything yet, but she felt lighter. Having started, she thanked him for listening. As she turned to leave, she stopped and looked back. Her voice was barely above a whisper when she said that one day soon, she would show him, and she hoped he would understand. The rancher nodded, meeting her gaze without hesitation. That night, sleep came slowly to both of them. The rancher lay awake, thinking about the weight of trust and how carefully it must be handled. He respected her courage. Not everyone could speak their truth, even a little. The woman lay awake too, staring at the ceiling. Her heart felt exposed but calmer. For the first time, she did not feel like she was carrying her story alone. She knew the hardest part was still ahead. But the fear felt smaller now. The next few days passed quietly. Work continued as usual, but something had changed between them. There was a deeper understanding, an unspoken agreement of respect. The rancher treated her no differently. And that consistency meant more than words ever could. She noticed it too. He did not watch her closely or act awkwardly. He gave her the same trust and responsibility as before. That steadiness reassured her. It told her that her honesty had not changed his view of her. One afternoon, while working near the barn, she slipped slightly on the ground. The rancher reached out instinctively to steady her. It was a brief moment, but it made her heart race. Not from fear, but from the realization that soon she would need to explain everything fully. That evening, she made a quiet decision. She would no longer run. She would face the truth. Not just for him, but for herself. The ranch had given her space to heal, and now it was time to trust that healing was possible. As the sun set, she sat alone for a while, gathering her thoughts. She knew the next conversation would be the most difficult one yet. But she also knew something else now. Whatever happened, she was no longer alone on that wide, quiet land. And somewhere nearby, the rancher watched the horizon, ready to listen, ready to understand, and ready to remain steady when the truth finally came into the light. The next morning arrived quietly, as if the land itself understood that something important was about to happen. The sun rose slowly, spreading soft light across the fields. The rancher was already awake, finishing his usual tasks. He worked with steady hands, but his thoughts were deeper than normal. He knew the woman was carrying a heavy decision, and he wanted to be ready, whatever that meant. When she stepped outside, he noticed a change in her walk. She moved with purpose, not rushed, but certain. Her face looked calm, though her eyes showed emotion. She greeted him as usual, and they began the day's work together. Everything felt normal on the surface, yet both of them sensed that the day would not end the same way it began. They worked through the morning without much talk. The animals were fed, the tools cleaned, and the fences checked. The woman did her tasks with care, but her mind was elsewhere. She replayed her words from the previous night and reminded herself why honesty mattered. She told herself that whatever happened next, it would be better than carrying the weight alone. By midday, the sun was warm, and the rancher suggested a break. They sat under the shade of a large tree near the edge of the land. For a while, they drank water in silence, listening to the wind move through the grass. Then the woman spoke. She said that today felt like the right day. Her voice was steady, but serious. She said she trusted him, not because he had promised anything, but because he had shown consistency. She said that, before coming to the ranch, she had often been judged without being known. That fear had followed her everywhere. But here, things felt different. The rancher listened carefully. He did not rush her or look away. He simply stayed present, letting her words come at their own pace. She explained that the marks she mentioned before were reminders of a difficult time. They were signs of experiences that had shaped her strength, not her weakness. She said that in the past, when people noticed them, their reactions had hurt more than the marks themselves. Some looked away. Others asked questions without kindness. She had learned to expect disappointment. She paused, then said softly that she did not want to live that way anymore. She wanted to be honest, even if honesty felt risky. She wanted to be seen for who she was now, not only for where she had been. The rancher nodded slowly. He told her that courage was not loud. Sometimes it was simply choosing to speak when silence felt safer. He said that whatever she wanted to share, he would listen with respect. They sat there for a long moment after that. The woman took a deep breath and stood up. She said she needed a little privacy to show him what she meant, and she asked if he would stay calm and patient. He agreed without hesitation. She stepped a short distance away, still within sight, but far enough to feel comfortable. With steady hands, she revealed the truth she had been carrying, not with drama, but with quiet honesty. When she finished, she stood still, waiting. The rancher looked, then looked away respectfully. His face did not change with shock or discomfort. Instead, his expression showed understanding. He stayed silent for a moment, choosing his words carefully. When he spoke, his voice was gentle and clear. He told her that what he saw did not change how he viewed her. He said that strength often came from surviving things no one should have to face. He told her that her work, her kindness, and her honesty mattered more than any mark of the past. Tears filled her eyes. But this time, she did not hold them back. She cried quietly, not from sadness, but from relief. The fear she had carried for so long finally loosened its grip. She realized that acceptance did not always come with loud words. Sometimes it came with calm understanding. The rancher gave her space, allowing her to collect herself. When she was ready, she returned to sit under the tree. The air between them felt lighter, as if a storm had passed. She thanked him, not just for listening, but for responding with dignity. She said she felt free in a way she had never felt before. The rancher nodded and said, "Freedom often began with being honest with oneself." From that day on, the ranch felt different in the best possible way. The woman worked with renewed energy. She smiled more, laughed more easily, and carried herself with confidence. She no longer avoided the sun or the open space. The land that once felt like a hiding place now felt like a home. The rancher noticed the change and felt proud, though he never said it aloud. He respected her resilience and admired her quiet strength. Their bond deepened, built not on dependency, but on mutual respect. Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. The ranch remained quiet, but it was no longer lonely. Evenings were often spent sitting outside, watching the sky change colors. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. Both felt comfortable either way. One evening, the woman spoke about her plans. She said she no longer felt the need to run. She wanted to build something stable, something real. Whether that meant staying on the ranch longer or finding a new path, she knew she would face it with confidence. The rancher told her she was welcome to stay as long as she wished. He said the land had a way of helping people find clarity. She smiled, grateful not just for the offer, but for the trust behind it. As seasons changed, the ranch continued its steady life. Work was done, meals were shared, and the land thrived. The woman became an essential part of the place, not because she needed it, but because she chose it. Looking back, she realized that the moment she decided to be honest was the moment her life began to shift. What she feared would push her away had instead brought understanding. What she thought defined her had instead revealed her strength. The rancher, too, learned something important. He learned that opening one's life to another did not bring chaos, but meaning. He learned that compassion did not weaken a person. It deepened them. One quiet night, as stars filled the sky, they sat together on the porch. The land stretched out before them, calm and endless. Neither spoke, because words were not needed. The story that began with uncertainty ended with peace. Two lives crossed paths on a quiet ranch and changed in ways neither expected, not through drama or force, but through patience, honesty, and simple human understanding. And in that quiet place, both of them found something rare, a sense of belonging that did not ask them to be anything other than who they truly were.